Hey, what's up guys? Ethan Hamrick here with Wish Upon a Fish, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about my favorite hard suspending jerkbaits for catching more bass, and discuss a few tips to help you catch more fish on this awesome bait. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so a hard suspending jerkbait is one of my favorite lures. It's a bait that I throw year round, have confidence on at all times of the year. It works best in clear water. Anytime the water visibility is over 2 feet, I love throwing a jerkbait. A lot of guys think you can only catch fish on a jerkbait in the winter time when the fish are sluggish and you are trying to get them to react to a bait. However, a jerkbait is an awesome bait year-round. Can catch fish in all seasons and is a great bait. So my favorite jerkbait on the market is a Rapala Shatterwrap 11. This is the bone-colored Shatterwrap 11. It's a reasonably priced jerkbait with extremely erratic action. It darts back and forth in the water really well. Looks like an injured bait fish. When worked correctly, it'll stop on a dime in the water and just looks amazing underwater. I've caught tons of bass on a Rapala Shatterwrap 11. Just an awesome bait, and one that I would highly recommend for anyone wanting to try a jerkbait. Now another jerkbait that I really love to throw is the Rapala Shatterwrap Deep. This is basically the exact same bait, just with a longer bill. The Shatterwrap 11 dives to about 4 to 6 feet, and the Shatterwrap Deep dives from 6 to 8 feet. So if I'm targeting fish in a little bit deeper water, the Shatterwrap Deep jerkbait is the one I turn to. It still has the same great action, just gets a little bit deeper and catches those fish that are suspended in deeper water. A couple other great jerkbaits that I love to throw are the Rapala RipStop 9. This is a fairly small jerkbait, the smallest that I typically throw. It's got a much smaller profile, smaller lip on it. Doesn't dive as deep as the Shatterwrap 11. But it's a great bait if I'm targeting fish that are feeding on smaller bait fish. If the forage is a lot smaller in a fishery, I'll often go to that RipStop 9 because it imitates those smaller bait fish so well. Still has all the great qualities of the Rapala Shatterwrap 11. It still has that extremely erratic darting action and looks amazing under the water, but it just imitates those smaller bait fish and is my go-to when that forage is a little bit smaller. Now if the forage on a certain fishery is larger, I go to this larger Rapala RipStop 12. Now this bait is the largest jerkbait I'll throw. It's a little bit larger than the Shatterwrap 11. If I'm on a place with large bait fish, such as big gizzard shad and large thread fins and stuff like that, I'll turn to this larger jerkbait because it imitates those bigger baits a lot better. And when those bass are homed in on that bigger bait, they often want that larger profile bait. So that's when I'll turn to that Rapala RipStop 12. And the last jerkbait that I like to throw is the King Kbd jerkbait. Again, has awesome action, dives anywhere from 4 to 7 feet deep. So I can target a lot of different depth ranges with this bait. It looks a little bit different than those Rapala jerkbaits and gives those fish a little bit of a different look. So oftentimes if I'm on a good jerkbait bite and I go through an area with a Shatterwrap or a RipStop, I'll come back through there with the King jerkbait and often catch a few more fish. So it's just another great jerkbait that I have in my arsenal. Now as far as colors go for my jerkbait selection, when I'm fishing really clear water and the visibility is 5 feet or greater, I like to stick with those really translucent colors such as bone, white, or like Elite Pro blue. Colors like that are great in that super clear water. If the water's a little bit dirtier and has a little bit of stain to it, I like to throw a little bit of a darker color. A gold jerkbait with a black back is a great choice when fishing water with a little bit less visibility and with a little bit of stain. That's typically the color patterns that I stick to when jerkbait fishing. Now I prefer to throw my jerkbaits on a 6.6 medium action bait casting rod. I want a rod that's light enough to feel even the lightest bites, but also a rod that's powerful enough to get those fish away from cover and to the boat as quickly as possible. And I'll pair that with either a 6:1 to 1 or 6:4 to 1 gear ratio reel, bait casting reel, and I'll spool that reel with 10 to 14 pound fluorocarbon, depending on how deep or shallow I'm fishing the bait. So that's my setup when it comes to jerkbait fishing. When fishing a jerkbait, you typically want to focus on hard structure. Primary and secondary points, drop-offs, ledges. Also fishing a jerkbait in the backs of creeks and around shoreline cover, such as lay-down trees, docks, rocks, and seawalls is another great option. Also, here in Florida, we have tons of grass, so I like to fish a jerkbait down the edges of Kissimmee grass lines and over the tops of submerged hydrilla. That's another great way to fish a jerkbait, and it's how I catch a lot of my jerkbait fish, fishing around and over the tops of grass. So keep that in mind when you're looking for places to fish a jerkbait. When working a jerkbait through the water, A jerk pause action is what you want. You want to jerk your rod downward toward the water to get the bait down in the water column. Jerk it a couple times, pause it, jerk it again, pause it. That's how you want to work your jerkbait. You want to work it on a slack line. Every time you jerk it, you point your rod back toward the bait so that there's slack in the line. That allows the bait to come to a complete stop and just suspend in the water column. Typically on the pause is when that fish will bite the bait. If he's trailing behind that bait and you jerk it a couple times, typically on the pause is when that fish will come up behind it and attack it. So that's how you want to work a jerkbait through the water. Typically, the colder the conditions and the water temperature, the slower you want to work a bait, the longer you want your pauses to be in between jerks. But when I'm fishing a jerkbait during the summertime, I'll work the bait fairly fast without really any pause at all. I'll jerk, maybe pause for half a second or so if I see the fish aren't committing to the bait, to give them a little more time. But in the warmer months, I typically work the bait faster, and in the colder months, I work it a lot slower. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and can use some of these tips the next time you're out on the water. Be sure to give jerkbaits a try. As I mentioned, they're excellent baits to throw year-round, not just in the wintertime. So the next time you're out on the water, especially if that water is pretty clear and has a visibility over 2 feet, give jerkbaits a try. They're great baits and catch a lot of fish. Be sure to give this video a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And there'll be a lot more fishing content headed your way. We'll talk to you soon.